Hello Roosevelt students, this is Mr. Roble. I'm going to be doing a lab demo for you today. The lab that you're going to be doing today is called Physical and Chemical Changes Lab Stations. If you have the accelerated copy, it does look a little bit different, but for the most part it is the same lab. So you can see the purpose up at the top, the learning target. It says, I can explain a physical and chemical change and use evidence to identify a physical and chemical change. So what we did in class was we just went to different stations and basically looked at the materials and answered the questions, just like you'll see on this document that's on the screen right now. So if you don't have the document, you can download it from your teacher's website, but you will need this document in order to do the lab. So let's get started. Station number 1 is a glow stick. So many of you have probably seen these before. They use them a lot on Halloween, but this is the glow stick. When you crack it, it's going to light it. I'm not going to crack it because it's not going to work in class here because it's lit up. But if I were to snap this, it would make a cracking sound and then it would start to glow. So that's station number 1. There's a couple questions to answer about the glow stick on your paper. Station number 2 is melting wax. So if you take a candle, don't pay attention to the wick burning, but pay attention to the wax actually melting, and keep in mind that the wax could turn back into a solid after it's melted. So it turns from a solid to a liquid when it's heated up, and it turns from a liquid back into a solid after it cools down. So don't pay attention to the burning wick, but pay attention to the wax melting. That's number 2. Number 3 is leaves decomposing. So here we have some leaves that were taken from outside. You can see that they're brown and crunchy right now. This morning, or not this morning, I'm sorry, when we picked them up this morning, this is how they look. They were brown and crunchy, but earlier in the year, during the summer, they would have been green. So think about what happens as the leaves turn from green to brown, or as they start to decompose. The next one is dry ice. So I don't have any dry ice to show you, but I do have a picture of dry ice for you. Notice that in this picture, the dry ice is going directly from a solid into a gas. Remember that we did use a vocab term for that. We've talked about it. If you can't remember what it is, you might have to check your notes, but there is the name of that process. There's a certain name for that process, and it's again when it goes right from a solid to a gas. So that's number 4. Number 5, which I'll get to in just a second here. Number 5 is striking a match. So here I have 2 matches. You can see that one of the matches has not been lit. This one over here, it's still green, the tip is green. This match has been struck, it's been lit. You can see that there's ash up at the tip of the match. And so talk about what happens when you strike a match. Number 6, yep, we're on number 6 now. That's steel, wool, and water. So here is steel, wool, and water mixed together. You can see that it has kind of a rust color to it. So the steel wool is just what it sounds like. It's little strips of steel that look almost like wool, so they call it steel wool. And you can see it's starting to rust. Number 7 is iodine and cornstarch. This is cornstarch by itself. You can see it's a white powder. Iodine is a reddish yellow liquid by itself. So here's some iodine in a dropper, and I'll drop some in here. And you can see what happens to it after they mix. Notice that the cornstarch and the iodine have now had some sort of reaction where it's turned black. So that is number 7. Number 8 is making salt water. So you just have to use your imagination here. Pretend that we took this salt, we added water to it, we pour them together, and we get salt water. Number 9 is an Alka-Seltzer tablet. So I have the Alka-Seltzer tablet here. I have a glass of water, a beaker of water. I'm going to drop it in. You can see what's happening. Notice that it's starting to react, and there are bubbles coming from the Alka-Seltzer tablet going into the water. Notice the foam at the top, or the bubbles at the top. Notice the color change in the water. So that is number 9. Finally, number 10 is making Kool-Aid. So again, you'll have to use your imagination. I'm not actually going to make the Kool-Aid, but if you add this Kool-Aid to some water, what type of change are you going to have? And let's see here, so that's up through number 10. There is some questions down at the bottom. So there's 2 analysis and conclusion questions that you have to do, and up at the top of the lab there are 2 research questions, so just make sure that you have those done. So hopefully that helps you get through this lab, and if you have any questions, of course, just talk to Ms. Brown, Mr. Johnson, or me, whichever teacher you have. Have a good day.